A Clown at the Funeral, a personal essay about littering in Vatican City, by Ian Porchot. I got the chance to visit Rome this past September. I can talk endlessly about its ancient ruins, Baroque fountains, and gorgeous alleyways decorated with hanging flowers. I can talk about its art, history, and its elaborate drinking faucets that deliver fresh spring water to thousands. However, this essay will not focus on the timeless beauty of Rome. This essay will narrow in on something ugly. I mean, really ugly. Something that sticks out so sorely in my mind, I have no choice but to write this essay just to fully understand the magnitude of its ugliness. So, what disgusted me so much? It was an empty coffee cup, carelessly left before the tomb of a deceased pope. That is right, someone left their filthy trash before the tomb of a pope. Let's talk about it. The trash was left in the Vatican grottos, which reside below St. Peter's Basilica. It is worth saying that the basilica itself is the largest and arguably most beautiful church in the world. As the American author Henry James once put it, as a mere promenade, St. Peter's is unequaled. It is better than the boulevards, than Piccadilly or Broadway. And if it were not the most beautiful place in the world, it would be the most entertaining. Our tale takes us below the basilica. Known as the Tomb of the Popes, this expanse is the final resting place for over 90 popes, royal figures, and dignitaries. Admittedly, it is a little difficult to figure out what to feel here. There are dozens of artifacts, and the elaborate engravings on many of the tombs give visitors the impression of walking through a museum. So it is natural to feel like a tourist. At the same time, the funerary atmosphere and the realization that this is a resting place fills the heart with a sense of serious reverence for the dead. Or does it? I am positive I felt this reverence, but clearly whoever left the trash did not. I'm still trying to work this out. The cup stood on a black rail just before the deceased pope. It stuck out like a palm tree in the North Pole, an igloo on the sand dunes of the Sahara, or a clown at a funeral, tipping his coxcomb with a taunting gesture that says, "Screw you and your dead popes!" My immediate response was one of immeasurable discomfort and disgust. This is strange. I am not a Roman Catholic, and have never had a problem with religion or high culture being mocked in popular culture. I still cackle at Monty Python's The Hand, a cut paper animation sequence that features a hand peevishly trying to remove a fig leaf covering the crotch of Michelangelo's David, before being slapped away by the seemingly annoyed sculpture. Once the hand manages to remove the leaf, David's penis is replaced by the face of a puritanical woman, bemoaning the plight of high culture and art on British television. I also chuckle at South Park's insistence that Satan is a broad-chested goofball with a wild crush on Saddam Hussein. So why am I so revolted by the sight of trash left before the tomb of a former pope? I'm not sure who this pope was. My historical knowledge of pope names only reaches the 1970s, and like the majority of the world's non-Polish population, I cannot even pronounce John Paul II's real name. I am guessing this pope lived a few centuries ago, and his name is consigned to the $5 DVD bin of historical figures nobody talks about. Perhaps that is why the trash was left there. The pope was not one of the celebrity popes we recognize from TV. Every Wednesday at 10:30 a.m., hundreds of Catholics gather in St. Peter's Square to watch Pope Francis open his curtains and wave from his living quarters. Cameras flutter, throats gasp in 20 different languages, and selfies are taken. But the Pope with the hard-to-say name from 300 years ago? Maybe he can throw away my sticky caramel macchiato cup I paid way too much for. Stupid inflation. And what's the worst that can happen, right? But I'm nowhere closer to answering my question. Why was I so disgusted by the piece of garbage? This pope was not the only victim of desecration in recent weeks. On October 14th, two climate activists chucked cans of tomato soup at Van Gogh's 1888 masterpiece, Sunflowers. These activists faced a judge as a consequence of their actions. In May, someone launched a cupcake at Da Vinci's Mona Lisa in Paris. I find this disgusting as well, but I have no problem with the celebrated surrealist Marcel Duchamp adding a mischievous mustache to his own recreation of the Mona Lisa in 1919. With this, I realize there is a difference between comedically mocking high culture and lacking a general reverence for it. There is a difference between telling priest jokes and leaving trash beside the tomb of a deceased pope. There is a difference between drawing a mustache on the Mona Lisa as a symbol of cultural disillusionment and throwing cupcakes at it. Christianity and high culture dominated the West for so long that it only makes sense for a liberal, less traditional society to mock it. That is fine. At the same time, the values that fill the void left by their decline are nothing if nobody has reverence for them. Finally, I have discovered the source of my repulsion. Showing disrespect for someone's ideas by mocking them is simply an exercise of free speech. Their display becomes commentary with the comfortable right to float in the domain of public opinion. But disrespecting someone's body or artwork desecrates both the disrespecter and the disrespected. So, take a moment to enjoy the architecture of an Episcopal church down the street from your job. Look at a piece of art by Rembrandt and ponder over what kind of woman sat for the portrait. Also, please turn off your Cardi B ringtone at your nephew's tribute to Mozart recital. Take a moment to visit the Vatican grottos, even if you're not Catholic. Sure, these popes were not perfect, but neither are we. Let us work together to understand racism. Let us work together to find ways to protect democracy. Let us work together to preserve the environment. We can start simple. We can start today. We can start by not leaving trash in Vatican City.